Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Hi everyone, and welcome back to From the Pasture with Hired Hand. I'm your host, Molly Clubb. This episode is one of my favorites to record every single year. It's our end of the year animal data recap. We've spent weeks digging through the numbers, the trends, and the thousands of animals and websites powered by Hired Hand, and the results are fascinating. This year's data doesn't just tell us who the most viewed animals were or which sires had the most offspring born, but also what those numbers mean for breeders, marketing, and the future of our industry. In this episode, we're going over the bulls whose offspring counts are skyrocketing and what that says about today's most influential bloodlines, the cows capturing massive attention online and just how far those horns have stretched in the last 5 years, the new breeds that are starting to appear in our system, and which ranch websites are performing so well they deserve their own gold belt buckle. To help me break it all down, I've got Ryan Culpepper here. He's our go-to expert for bloodlines, conformation, and genetic trends. I like to say I bring the spreadsheets and Ryan brings the smarts to explain them. So if you've ever wondered what's driving attention, sales, and breeding trends in the Longhorn world and beyond, stick with us because today's data might surprise you. Let's dive in. All right, Ryan, let's start off with the boys, the sires. Every year, we pull the list and it gets more and more competitive. Since 2020, the top 30 sires on Hired Hand powered websites have increased their total number of calves from 832 to just over 1,010 this year. So that means there's a 21% jump in calf production across our network. If we lined up all those new calves nose to tail, we'd probably have about 3 football fields, or more accurately, probably about 2 acres of fresh fencing and a whole lot of feed needed. But in all seriousness, that's a major growth in just 5 years.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and looking through this, it really shows how important those top sires are, and shows a pretty broad use of each of those sires, not just one or two of them, but they're leading the way, but a broad use and people being pretty selective, and AI has made that even more possible. And you have semen availability is pretty economical these days, so folks can get in and jump on those top end bulls when they're made available through AI and semen, and you see bulls siring calves from coast to coast, and it's really cool to see that those important sires and those top end ones having such a diverse and far reaching impact, and and you can really see that. You start looking at those sires and looking at different websites, different breeders' websites. You can see that through those progeny, you'll look on the progeny, and for the most part, these sires have a diverse set, or the calves out of these sires have a diverse set of owners. It's you can go in and see which breeders they're making an impact on, and that's great from a bull owner standpoint, as well as as a breeder looking to use one of these top sires to see what kind of impact they're making.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned diversity, because I think that sums it up, the diversity in breeding decisions. So where it maybe used to be just a few big name headline bulls out there, now people can do more research and they can get the type of genetics specifically that they're looking for, and put more research in before the breeding options.
Absolutely.
So as we look at the names leading the numbers that we just mentioned, I'm going to go over our top 5 sires for the year by number of offspring born. And I should note that we pulled these numbers right at the beginning of November. So if folks are still calving into November, December, by the time this podcast comes out, there might be a little bit of fluctuation in those numbers. We'll try to get them updated on the blog, but these were the numbers about a week before we recorded here. So we have WT Kid Rock with 75 calves. Rebel HR with 60 calves, BR Jungle Gym with 52 calves, and rounding out the top 5, these last 2 were really close in numbers, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was movement by the time our podcast airs. But at number 4, we had SR Claude 016 had 46 calves, and PCC Midas Touch had 43 calves in the system. So that's a pretty stacked lineup. And a quick legacy shout out while we're here. When you look at all the all-time offspring counts, the usual legends are still there in the data, the names you'd expect. They're still shaping the pedigrees every single year. And we'll post that all-time sires by offspring list on the blog so you can see where your favorite bulls in your program ranks, and who you're crossing against. But for now, let's talk about what's making those top 5 sires so popular right now, Ryan.
Yeah, it's a really impressive list. All those names are very recognizable. You look at each of the top 5 there, and 4 of those 5 bulls, when you go look at their offspring, you can tell they're being utilized by a lot of different breeders. There's broad use across the industry with them. The one outlier there is the number 4, that SR Claude 016. He comes from the Struithof Ranch. They do a phenomenal job down in Central Texas, and just nearly every one of the offspring there has their prefix on it. And you look, it comes from their program, and that speaks volumes to his quality, being their lead herd sire. And he's recently been sold to Wade Wagner and Mike New, but he's kind of the outlier of those top 4 or top 5 of being a little more single use, but the rest of them have such a broad use. It shows how important they are, how popular they are. And, Kid Rock, he's the number 1 slot this year. I think Rebels had that spot for a little while. So it makes sense that him being the longest horn bull in the breed, and they've done a lot of advertising and they've got partners using him. So it makes a lot of sense to see a young bull that they're wanting to use real heavy. He's still relatively young. You look at Jungle Gym and again, that Claude and Midas Touch, those are all new to the top 5. But they all make sense. Claude moving into the lead role at Struithof, Jungle Gym's over 100 and just had a ton of marketing behind him. And I think Midas Touch, I think he still holds if he's not the fastest, he's awful close to the fastest bull over 100, and he's real young. So, we've got a diverse mix of established bulls and new and up and coming bulls, and it really shows, like we mentioned a minute ago, the diversity of these bulls, and that's so important to the long-term health of the breed. And these 5 bulls are actually, they offer quite a bit of genetic diversity. It's not that it's Rebel and 4 sons or Kid Rock and 3 brothers. It's a pretty diverse group of bulls, and really shows how important that genetic diversity is, and AI has to play such a huge role in that, and it allows breeders and the breed as a whole to maintain that genetic diversity. And that's so important to the breed, and the visibility that you can see through those offspring on their hired hand page is just pretty phenomenal. You can see what they're producing, but also that they're producing it for a large number of breeders and making a breed-wide impact, and that's reflected in those numbers that we see in these totals here.
Well, I love that you mentioned visibility and also, touched a little bit on how a lot of the owners or co-owners of these bulls are putting a lot into marketing. When we compared this, so that brings me to another trend. When we compared the bulls' promotion levels to their lifetime page views, we found a correlation of 0.43. So before everyone listening zones out on me, because I get all the boring stuff and Ryan gets to talk about all the exciting bloodlines and everything, what that means is that simply there's a moderate positive connection between how often a bull is promoted online on their website or on others' websites and how much traffic he gets. So we calculated that by matching our most promoted bulls list to the all-time page hits list. And so that data shows that the more a bull's image and info show up across numerous sites, the more people click and learn about him, which in the end basically means marketing works, right?
Absolutely.
And we'll be sure, we'll be
Sorry,
sure to
go
put
ahead.
both those lists out on the blog so folks can kind of cross-reference on their own as well, that most promoted bulls list with the all-time list. Some of the names that are still on there that people will recognize are Cowboy Tough Checks, JP Rio Grande, Hubble's 20 gauge. And then we'll put the same list out for the cows, where you'll see cows like BL Rio Catch It, HR Rosette kind of anchoring that cow side. So they show up not only in promotions, but also in traffic.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. That correlation showing the promotion and visibility they're directly related and rise together. That it shows that promotion works. The more you get out and promote your animals, your program, the more you're going to see traffic, and there's some finesse to it. It's not perfect, but the more work you put in, the more results you'll see, and then quality and reputation on these animals still matter. Otherwise, it would just be it'd be a higher number or closer number. But we see it all the time with people that start updating their bulls and they have measurements or great pictures or start really promoting their animals. The next thing you know, the semen sales go up, or maybe they weren't. I can think of a couple that didn't really have semen sales on the radar. Then a little bit of promotion and inquiry launched their semen sales division or program, and really really goes a long way when you can get out there and promote those cattle and have those updated pictures and all the information that goes with it. And that keeping that information out there and in front of the industry, building that online story for those cattle really builds a lot of recognition and name recognition and visual recognition as well. So people understand and know those animals long before you make a sale or make that connection. The industry can be familiar with those animals.
I think too, and this would, if we had the list to compare, it'd be interesting to see. But I think there's a lot to be said as well for the futurities that accept bulls, the NLFR and the work that they're doing, the Horn Showcase, all those sorts of events that also put bulls kind of in the spotlight, so to speak,
Absolutely.
to help them with marketing too.
Absolutely. That all goes hand to hand and really is extremely valuable for these bulls.
So it's not just about the genetics, it's also about, telling the story and how you're telling the story.
Absolutely.
So the bulls that you'll see on the lifetime list for those stats like Cowboy Tough Checks, JP Rio Grande, they're kind of what we call our evergreen magnets. So year after year, people keep clicking on them because there's always people, researching those bloodlines, all the way back. So, I'd love to hear your opinion, Ryan, on what also makes kind of those legacy sires timeless over their lifetime, whether it's, their genetics, their offspring, their name, that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's all of that stuff. Those bulls you mentioned, Cowboy Tough Checks, Rio Grande, bulls like that are still, playing such an important role in the breed, and they've been around and had such a large influence. They have that consistency. They work on a diverse set of cows. They can help take a group of cows forward, and that's the goal of a bull is to be a tool, and we want them to improve each and every animal that they touch, and that may not always be the case, but the ones that are those, like you said, those evergreen magnets, they do it year in, year out. They have proven offspring, and one of the great things is their offspring are producers. It says a lot for a bull that can improve a cow, but when those offspring keep taking steps forwards, it's very important. And they've got recognizable names that ties back to the marketing we're just talking about with that consistency and that proven success of eliteness and elite production. The name becomes recognizable, and the owners and partners and the whole industry promotes those bulls to create that story. And these new and up and coming bulls, we mentioned those young ones that are just getting on the list for the first time. I think they're doing a great job of following those patterns. And if you really have a bull that you want to promote, the best thing to do is go look at those leader bulls that have been around, and you'll learn from them, see what they did for promotion and branding, and creating a whole brand around that bull can go a long ways. And always having good photos, updated measurements, getting pictures of offspring out there can go a really long way to turning an up and coming sire into one of those legacy types that just is a foundation bull.
Yeah, that's a really good point. These bulls have essentially become brands. So, that's something every breeder can take away from this year's data, is that a good photo, consistent photo updates, updated measurements, and a little storytelling can really go a long way.
Absolutely.
One thing that we're going to touch on here in a little bit is the top bulls by views. So, we're gonna touch on that as well, which is kind of related. But first, let's kind of switch gears here, and let's talk cows who are capturing the attention online and growing their horns longer and longer every year. So the cow side is where you really see longevity and loyalty. These matriarchs are the backbone of every program, and they're pulling in big numbers, both in person and online. So across all hired hand-powered websites, the average horn length, and we're talking tip to tip here, for the top cows has climbed from about 107 inches in 2020 to nearly 118 inches in 2025. So that's an increase of over 10 inches in 5 years.
That's amazing.
Right? I don't know if we would have ever thought we'd see that.
Come a long ways.
So for perspective, if we lined up the top 30 cows by horn, tip to tip, we'd have more than 290 feet, which is about a football field. So, they're definitely still growing and outgrowing themselves. So we have a leaderboard note here to point out before Ryan kind of gets into some notables on her, but we show in our data still, and this is again from public website measurements. So that's where we're pulling our data from, that EOT Sweet Maxi still currently holds one of the longest tip-to-tip measurements at 118.6875 inches.
That's remarkable. Like I said, we've come a long way, and being at 107 inches just a few years ago to 118, that's it's amazing. And you look at the Sweet Maxi cow that the Smiths down at Cold Copper have, and you look at that measurement, and there's a few things that really stand out about her. Is she's still putting on a remarkable amount of horn each year. I think she grew over 2 inches this year as a 6-7-year-old, or I'm sorry, at a 9-year-old cow. But she's really blossoming into as a producer. They've got several daughters of hers that are really outstanding, and I know she's produced some sons that are nice, and it's nice that it's not just about the horns with a cow of that caliber. She has more to her than just that measurement, and and seeing that really steady growth is really impressive. And you go and look at their website, you can see their record keeping, 1 or 2 measurements a year to see that consistent growth. And to mark how that's been, the growth is consistent, and that you can see that with that measuring consistency, and you tie that in with her genetics, and her sire, the sharpshooter bull, has done just a phenomenal job, and it all ties in together to really have that elite, steady horn measurement and horn growth. And that's where you see those those long-term growth is so important, and the long-term return is really in the cows, because you can keep that cow for 10, 12, 15 years, build a plan around her. You really get to know what she can do as a producer. And the elite cows and the cows at the top of the list, and every list we go through today, you'll see these are very top end special animals that have an exceptional amount of predictability. That's where you can build around and have some long-term success and build your marketing programs and your herds around that.
Well, horn obviously gets a lot of attention. It's a fun bragging right, and it's fun to track that. But the data we're about to show or talk about here is also going to prove how powerful the female side of your breeding program can be. So now we're going to go over the most viewed, or the top 5 most viewed cows that come up for 2025. So this is unique views across all hired hand powered websites for year to date. So I'm going to start backwards. We'll go 5 to 1 this time. Do you want to talk about each of these as I list them off, or do you want me to list them all off at once and then you go over them? What would you prefer, Ryan?
I can speak of each of them as we go through it.
Okay, perfect. So coming in at number 5 is the cow Good Friday with 30,124 views.
We're starting off pretty interesting here. She's the dam to a bull called the Shadow. That's a bull from the 90s. He's the daddy to Shadowism. That's the daddy to Jamaicism, who's got so many great cattle in the breed now. But, we just mentioned we're 4 generations back. And I think this is a great way to start the rest of our conversation. Is we're going to see a lot today, just like we see here, the power of research through these the hired hand pedigrees being linked together.
Coming in at number 4 with 32,876 views is HL Tough Stardom.
She's the dam to one of the hottest bulls going right now, HL Heads Up. And so it's a little different than our number 5, but it still rings true that you can tell people will go to her for research purposes to see if they want to use her son, use other offspring. She's been a really tremendous producer.
I think one thing that's interesting about these number 4 and number 5, they're pretty close in number of views. But like you mentioned, one of them is on this list because she goes back to a bull from the 90s. The other one is on this list because she has a bull that's he's been popular within the past 5 years, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So kind of crazy how fast those views can skyrocket, on something that's popular today as well.
100% for sure.
Coming in at number 3 is Lady Light, and she has 54,856 views.
Yeah, one of a great producer, foundation female. She's the dam of Poco Lady BL, she's the source of the whole Monica line. Just a tremendous foundation female from quite a few years ago.
Coming in at number 2 is TTT Jam and Jenny with 81,720 views. So pretty big jump there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And and it makes sense knowing about Jam and Jenny. She's the sire to so many greats like the BR Cracker Jack bull, and she's getting up there in age now, so she's a more modern cow, but she cemented herself years ago as a true foundation female, and she'll go down as one of the all-time greats.
And coming in at number 1, I feel like we had a little foreshadowing here on this one. She has a whopping 130,536 views to date, and that's Poco Lady BL.
I mean, we could spend 3 or 4 podcasts just talking about the influence that she's had. We just talked about her mama in the number 3 spot, but we're 80,000 more views ahead of her. 50,000 more views against the second place one. Just really shows the impact that she has, and not only is she one of the all-time greats, but she's produced greats. She's got great grand offspring that it's hard to find too many cattle in the breed that don't have some influence with her. Compared to other cattle, she's got as much reach as any cow in the breed.
Well, if you want to see the rest of the list, like we've mentioned, it is out on our blog, and we'll put some of it out on social too. But I'd say at this point, these cows are practically influencers with those number of views.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. They could have their own Instagram pages and be making good money.
What's really interesting, if we look at some of the charts that you're privy to, Ryan, from doing your research, that like I mentioned, we're going to put out on social and our blog, is that all time, if we look at the all time data, not just year to date, there's matriarchs who have never left the charts. So we're talking names like Tari Graves, BL Rio Ketchit, Texana Van Horn, Delta Van Horn, Doherty 698. These cows are in the top 30 almost every year that we've done this, in number of views. And so that's real staying power and something you don't see quite as often on the bull side.
It's really impressive to see that shelf life these cows have, and they're truly. Yeah, you hear a lot of the term foundation female bandied about it a lot, and I don't want to take it lightly here. Those cows you just mentioned, those are true foundation. They create bulls and females that impact the breed for decades, and they have daughters, granddaughters that continue to make such an impact. And those cows from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s still being so important, it really shows how much research the breeders are doing on cow families. And I firmly believe that cow families are becoming more and more important to breeders as they're looking to establish their herds, take their herd to the next level, increase predictability. And you go back and look at these cows that have stuck around so long, and they're exactly who you'd want to keep going back to. And the bulls, they like you said, that they get popular, and there's some all-time greats that stick around in these lists. But I think on the bull side, it's easier for the hot name of the month, or the bull that's got the latest and greatest measurement or advertising campaign to jump in there, and that's that's nothing wrong with any of it, but with the widespread impact a bull can have in one breeding season, it makes sense that they could jump in earlier, and I think it's much tougher for a bull to have that long-term sustained success or see those clicks come through for decades.
So, talking about long-term influence, I feel like the promotion data for the cows, proves our points that we've made already as well. So when we match the cows data with the most online promotion, to those with the highest lifetime page hits, there was again a really strong overlap. So names like HR Rosette, FL Rio Maxine, BL Rio Ketchit, they showed up on both lists. So, that to me means that, cows that breeders keep putting in front of people, whether it be mentioning them in sale catalog comments, going back to in pedigrees, or, including references in ads, all of those sorts of things are the same cows that folks are continuously looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that consistent promotion of those cows on the website, keeping things fresh, or keeping things directed towards them, and other online and in print promotion goes a long way to keeping those matriarchs relevant, and reminding people why they're relevant and so important. And it could be decades after they stopped calving, just reminding folks about their influence and why that influence is important. And then it makes those names recognizable. You start learning pedigrees, and you start seeing those pedigrees more and more, and you recognize names. And okay, Poco Lady keeps showing up, or Rio Ketchit keeps showing up. It's easy for people to memorize those names, and the more they recognize them, and that just goes to cement their position as a landmark in the breed, and they deserve to be in those spots. There's a lot of cattle in the breed, so if you can get names to be recognized and remember, that can go a really long way. And I think the female marketing has improved a lot. The bull side's always been easy. You throw a good picture of him, a measurement, and a few offspring out there, and let that do the speaking for itself has long been a valid way to market bulls. But with these pedigree powered sites like Hired Hand, where you can go in and see their offspring, see their ancestors, see the measurements, I think that's gone a long way to really improve the marketing on these cows and really show how important they are, and add a lot of context to those cows and remind everyone why they're so important.
So what I heard in your message there is that visibility can definitely build legacy.
Absolutely.
So breeders, if you have a strong female and you're proud of her, don't hide her, promote her story, because these matriarchs are definitely proof that when people see their name enough, they're going to become a part of the history if the offspring also supports that.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Looking for top quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing CanteraCattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Imagine updating your website and managing your animals at the same time without needing tech experience. With Hired Hand software, it's that easy. Our user-friendly platform is designed specifically for breeders, allowing you to keep your site fresh and your animal records up to date in just a few clicks.
Let us simplify your digital chores while you focus on what you do best. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see just how easy it can be.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink. We're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
Well, now we're going to zoom out a bit and we're going to talk about what's happening across all breeds in our system, from Longhorns to Highlands and even a few surprises that joined us this year. So Longhorns still obviously lead the way on our platform. 2025 was the first year where we, started to see some real diversity showing up in other data.
Seeing the things that you've shown me, it just shows a ton of growth in the platform and showing how valuable it is across, a variety of breeds and species. And, I love seeing, if you go to the Hired Hand live monthly auction this month, the lot 1 is a wildebeest, and I think that's fantastic. It's a surprise, but it really, you think about it, and it shows the diverse reach of the platform, and that's just really cool to see.
So this year we had about 7,000 to 8,000 new animals added, and the total herd presence is now right around 132,000 online. So that's a lot of bloodlines to research if you want.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So that steady pace shows that the Longhorn community is definitely strong and consistent, which I know you and I, with our histories and our backgrounds, both really love seeing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about who's been gaining ground. Highland cattle have been on a steady climb every year since 2020, and they're averaging right around about 500 new listings annually, or new animals added to our system annually. I always feel like I say these two wrong, and I'm very self-conscious about it. So if I say I'm wrong, you got to correct me, Ryan. But
okay,
Akashi and Wagyu.
Close,
right?
Akaushi.
Akaushi and Wagyu.
Yep.
Thank goodness I wasn't on a sales call with you. That would be embarrassing. Akaushi and Wagyu have more than doubled their animal totals in the past few years as more seed stock and beef producers have joined us with their websites. And we're even seeing growth from Andalusian horses, quarter horses, and a few specialty breeds. And I have to mention that we also have Maine Coon cats holding a solid spot in the pedigree lineup, which, that was exciting for us this year.
Seeing the growth into the other breeds is really fantastic, and I commend y'all for what y'all are doing. I think we've been spoiled over here on the Longhorn breed for a long time, having the hired hand sites and seeing that value, and I'm really excited to see the growth and continue into other breeds. And you mentioned the Highlands and the Akaushi that and Wagyu, and that just makes perfect sense. The Highlands have really done a phenomenal job of creating a niche market, and that's just been exploding for the last few years. And then the Akaushi and Wagyu as a premium beef product has really taken off, and with their premiums. And I know y'all had 2020 cattle on earlier, the Lunsfords, who have tapped into that. And so seeing the hired hand platforms grow with these national growth trends is really impressive.
So even with all of the different breeds that have started utilizing our website and pedigree system, Longhorns still remain the most viewed in terms of our all-time and yearly animal lists, which makes sense. So now we're going to go over the top viewed bulls for the year. And again, you can see the full list on our blog and on our socials. But Ryan, how about if we talk through kind of the top 5 for the past few months? Does that work?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to try to go backwards here, and we'll talk about each one.
Sure. That sounds great.
All right. So coming in at the 5th most viewed bull of the year with 51,456 hits is Colluder.
Yeah, Colluder, they've done a great job marketing him. That speaks right to everything we've talked about. He was a spotlight bull at Legacy last year, or I guess in 24, and they've just that was really just a key piece of their campaign to market him. They've done a great job of marketing him all year, and then his calves are starting to speak for themselves. So it makes sense to see someone like him on the list.
And coming in at the 4th highest is with 104,516 views is Dode's Boy.
It's cool to see an older bull like him on the list. He may have been from the 80s that far back. He goes back in a lot of pedigrees. Really cool to see a bull from that generation here on the list. It just shows the research aspect of the hired hand sites.
Coming in at number 3 with 166,859 total views is Buana Chex.
Buana's he's a little different than the last two that we've seen. He's still around, but he's an elder statesman now. He's got quite a bit of age on him. He's still out getting the job done, but between Loomis and Milestone Cattle, they've done a great job promoting him and throughout the year, and that's why he's on this list. Is he's a proven producer, a foundation type bull, but they're still promoting him.
Coming in at number 2 with almost 245,000 views is Victory Lap.
This one's pretty interesting. He's no longer with us, but he's in the pedigree of so many really cool animals, and Bryant Cattle Company has done a great job of promoting some animals that go back to him, and I think their international ties, all the stuff they've done with the breeders in Brazil, probably helps lead to the views on Victory Lap. He's a great bull that's going to get a lot of traction, and I think those international eyes sure just accentuate that.
And it should be noted that both Victory Lap and Colluder made really big moves this year, so they weren't anywhere close to the top 5 last year in terms of number of views, and they came in, one of them ending up at number 2, so that's very impressive.
That's fantastic.
So if you didn't have the data in front of you, Ryan, I would make you guess how many views number 1 had, because it's pretty astounding.
I was fixing to ask you if that was a typo.
It is not a typo. Is that not crazy?
It is wild.
All right, so we'll end the suspense for everyone listening. So the number one viewed bull just for this year had 989,550 views. And for those of you listening, I'll give you a few minutes to argue with your friend you're listening with about who it might be.
That nearly 1 million views in 1 year. That's just remarkable.
And that bull is Hunt's Command Respect.
And that he's at the top of the list is not surprising. He's in the pedigree of so many greats. He's one of the greats. Not enough good things can be said about him. I think just about everybody's used him or used an animal that goes back to him, and he's just entrenched himself in the fabric of the breed.
I feel like we need to, even though our podcast we're recording is going to come out right at the end of the year, we need to really make a push to get him to 1 million.
He's on the track. I think he does it.
We'll have to add a little note and see when we air if he's done it.
Absolutely.
If you kind of want to see a all-site Hall of Fame in terms of the most viewed animals, regardless of sex, in their lifetime, we do have that available on our socials and on our blog. You're going to see animals like Phenomenon, Sitting Bull, Emperor, Texas Ranger JP, and then of course some cows like Doherty 698, BL Monica 645. So be sure to head on over and check those out as well.
Those are all just really, truly phenomenal foundation cattle that the breed wouldn't, you can say it about every one of those, the breed wouldn't be where it is today without them there. They're in the pedigree of so many animals, and a lot of people that are studying pedigrees, they like to go and figure out how did we get where we are, what animals got us here, and those animals you mentioned, along with some others, are those type. So they help with the education of new breeders, and even seasoned breeders trying to figure out their next step. They can go back and look at those types of cattle, and it really helps preserve what we're trying to do as a breed as a whole, and and help everyone move forward. And new breeders can go and really study those before they start really jumping in and making big decisions or purchases. And and goodness, the number of views that those have had, it's truly remarkable. If they could just charge admission for all the page views they get, they'd be rewarded quite handsomely.
Right? Well, now that we've looked at the animals themselves, let's kind of talk about where all that information lives, which is on everyone's websites, all of our customers' websites. We have them to thank for this data. So our Hired Hand platform doesn't just show what animals are out there, it shows how breeders are using their sites and what works best. And from our 2025 data, we can definitely see a clear pattern. Ranches that update their site every single month consistently seem to pull in higher traffic. So not just total visits, but also views per animal, regardless of their animal type or their animal bloodlines. Even before we finalize the full efficiency report, the averages show a noticeable lift. So anywhere from 30 to 50% more views per animal for monthly updaters compared to ranches that only update their site once or twice a year.
On that's such great information to share, and it makes perfect sense. I think it's human nature to want to go see the latest and greatest and the newest, and frequently updating your website is so important to keep everything fresh, and it keeps, when people are searching for you, it keeps the search engines happy, and all the algorithms, on social media, you don't get left behind. And I know, just anecdotally speaking, that returning visitors notice that activity, and once they see that activity, they want to keep coming back and see, well, what's new, and you'll see that newest photo of that young up and coming bull, or those heifers that are coming to the next futurity, or hey, I'm thinking about using this bull, and all of a sudden there's 5 new calves, or a brand new measurement. It keeps people engaged and keeps them coming back. And there's breeders all the time that I hear about that people just can't help go and look at their website. Like Dale Hunt, he'll update several times a year, and every time he does a nice big update or refresh all the young pictures, the phone rings off the hook. Or one I was looking at recently, Cindy Boland just added a bunch of new updated measurements, and now I want to keep going back and keep looking to see who's got the latest and greatest, and I think that rings true for everyone that's doing the updates.
So Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you know about our resources pages and do you use them?
I know that I'm familiar with the like who's updated in the last week or month, and then I do use the search function regularly.
Nice. Okay. So fun fact about the ones that show updates, it's actually in real time. So if you check that page in the morning and check it again at 5 o'clock at night, you'll see different sites on there who were working throughout the day. So
I'm going to have to go add that to my bookmarks. I'm
right?
embarrassed it's not already there.
And in addition to seeing who updated their sites, you can also see who's added new photos, new measurements specifically, and what's the other one? Reference animals, I think.
Nice.
So, yeah,
That's just another great tool to, from a someone that updates a site regularly, knowing that that's happening. It's a great reminder to just fold that into the marketing of keeping my site on that recently updated resource page.
Exactly. Yep. And now let's hear from our advertisers.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
Are you a new Longhorn breeder eager to educate yourself on market trends and sale prices? Stay in the loop with our text messages. Get the latest updates, events, and insider tips on all things Longhorns delivered straight to your phone.
Stay informed by texting website to 888-700-8131, then reply with Longhorns. That's website to 888-700-8131. Sign up today and take your breeding program to the next level.
Well, we're not going to talk a lot about tip to tip on the podcast today, while it is in all of our stats on the blog and our socials. But one thing we do want to note is that in all of our data from updated Hired Hand sites, we did see that between 2024 and 2025, the tip to tip system wide, so across all animals, which would be both sexes, did grow by about 8 to 9%. What do you think about that?
And that is the length grew 8 to 10%, or the number of cattle with measurements?
That's a great question. So that would be the measurement. So the measurements grew by 8 to 9%. So that it could mean that more, there's more data making it more accurate. So it could be tied to the number of people updating their sites, but that specific 8 to 9% is the measurement itself. Yes.
The measurement's increasing. Well, that just shows where we're moving forward as a breed, and I want to make sure that we state this, that, measurements isn't everything, but it's an important part of the breed. And it's one of the vital statistics that are in a hired hand site or any good record keeping program. And those things that get measured get talked about, and that's an easy thing to look at and be a reference point. But seeing some raw data like that just shows that we're still moving forward and moving and growing. And Longhorn breeders are still out there trying, and everybody's got their own things they go after. But at the end of the day, horn is still going to be an important stat to reference.
And with it being just one of the areas that folks can update, we always tell folks when they're new customers and come to us and they're worried because maybe they have a smaller herd or they haven't gotten involved in, sales or futurities or anything yet, that it's not about having the fanciest site. It's about, using it. So adding one new calf, updating one measurement, posting a lot for sale, It all signals to visitors and to Google that your program is active, and that's really the most important piece of that.
Absolutely.
And the data definitely proves it. So when we compare the top 30 sites with the most animal views to the sites that update it every month, there's definitely a major overlap. So, the most visible ranches aren't necessarily the biggest, they're the most consistent.
And that makes sense. Hired hand websites are a great tool. So it's obvious that those that are using that tool are being rewarded.
Well, let's go over a few of the monthly updaters, who have made the list, either moved up or made it every year and are on this year's again. I'm going to list off the ranch, and why don't you just tell me one thing that pops to your head about that program, Ryan?
Okay.
And these are not in any specific order. So we have Arrowhead Cattle Company.
That has the most data of anybody or any ranch out there.
J2 Longhorns.
They've done a great job of really updating a lot of stuff and really taking a big step forward this year and refreshing some things.
Hubble Longhorns.
Mark, and they've been around for a long time. They're a foundation breeder. Just shows the importance that seeing them on this list proves how important that the updates are to them.
Whitlock Longhorns.
Whitlock's one of the biggest movers and shakers going right now, getting people involved and doing different things. So it makes sense to see them on this list.
Low Point Longhorn Ranch.
They've been kind of a relatively new. Well, I say that their activity has been relatively new the last 5-6 years, but they've sure made waves and done a lot of really cool things.
Clark's Longhorn Ranch.
Again, a breeder doing a lot of really neat things, and really glad to see them keeping their site up to date so everybody can follow along with them.
Do you find it interesting that a lot of these sites that are, showing high efficiency for amount of updates are not located in Texas?
Absolutely. I think that, again, it speaks to how important the using such a valuable tool is that if you're not, and just by the nature of the breed, there's a certain concentration of breeders in Texas, and and then once you get out of Texas, there's so many breeders, just as many, but they tend to be not as concentrated. So having a website regularly updated is a great way to get eyes onto your program and initiate that conversation to develop a relationship and either make a sale or get people out to your ranch.
And hopefully that's just another sign that the breed is growing, expanding out of kind of its quote unquote traditional areas to.
Absolutely. And being able to market those between hired hand and social media, with all the events going on, it makes it a lot more practical to be able to grow into different areas of the country.
Well, Jamie and I always like to call, the various website updates digital chores. So just like feeding or checking fence, your website needs regular attention too. And so as we just talked about, some of these ranches are definitely reaping the rewards if they treat it that way. So if you're listening and you're wondering what you can do right now to improve your numbers for next year's recap, we recommend that you update your site monthly, add fresh photos and stories and just more animal information, and then continue promoting your key animals online. Because every click, every update, every pedigree view adds up, and the data definitely proves it.
Absolutely. And seeing that efficiency leaderboard, that's really cool, and I think it can promote. Just one thing's great about the Longhorn industry is that we're all pretty competitive for the most part, but we like seeing each other succeed. So being on that leaderboard to get the most views, it can create some friendly competition, and and if you've got one animal that you're really in love with, and you can market that animal and kind of have it go viral a little bit, that just lifts everything for the rest of your herd. your entire stats, your entire ranch's stats. And the biggest thing on being on one of those high efficiency ranches, to maximize the views per animal is like we've talked about. Keep your website up to date on a regular basis, but use clear photos, high quality photos. That's something that Molly knows is near and dear to my heart, is having good, clear, high quality photos, and um, because that's going to draw so much attention, and in a positive way, people keep coming back and looking. But along with that, like I said, keeping everything updated, having the mobile friendly site. That's, most of the time I'm looking at the hired hand site. It's on my phone out in the pasture trying to reference something, and uh, those mobile friendly sites sure make it really easy. And then when you're doing your marketing, one thing I love doing uh, you know, is going back and forth between using links to my bull page or my calves page. But the biggest tool is directly linking to a specific animal, and being able to promote them with a great picture or a reference for a sale, or something like that. Those direct links to the pedigree it's a great way to drive traffic to exactly what you want.
Well, Ryan, we went over a lot of data here. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you kind of want to announce as a trend for this past year that you saw?
No, I don't know. I think the trend is, you know, it'll sound cliche, is that, good cattle are good cattle, and people love seeing good cattle and talking about their good cattle. So, good photos, good marketing, new updates, just trying to engage people, it never goes out of style.
You want to make any predictions for 2026 for what we're going to see in any of these areas?
I think that that's tricky. I think 2026 is going to be a good year. I think everything kind of trended positively in 2025, and I think that those complete animals that do a lot of stuff really good are going to garner the most attention, and I think 2026 is going to be a good year.
I would agree. Jamie and I have another podcast coming out where we specifically review all of the sales data from the year, from all the sales that used Hired Hand Live. And just looking at last year, trending upwards compared to the past few, I'm hoping that it just continues that upward climb. So I agree with you. I second that.
Well, I think it's, there's so much positivity around the breed right now, and so much excitement that I don't know how it doesn't get better next year.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know everyone listening really appreciates it, as do we.
Absolutely. I sure appreciate it. And it's an honor to be asked to be on the podcast, and y'all keep doing great things. And we're all real lucky to have y'all in the breed.
Right back at you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, that wraps up our 2025 From the Pasture with Hired Hand end of the year animal data recap. Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today and helping me translate all these numbers into real world takeaways. It's one thing to see the data in a spreadsheet, it's another to actually understand what it means out in the pasture, in the sale ring, and in our breeding programs. This year's trends really told a story. Bulls like WT Kid Rock and Rebel HR proving that production and promotion go hand in hand. Matriarch cows like BL Rio Ketchit and HR Rosette showing us how consistent visibility builds lasting legacy. The industry itself expanding fast, with more than 132,000 Longhorns now represented across all Hired Hand powered sites, and growing communities for Highlands, Akaushi, Wagyu, Andalusians, and even Maine Coons finding their place in our data. It's proof that pedigree-powered websites aren't just for one breed anymore, they're for anyone who values great genetics and great marketing. And of course, the ranches who treat their websites like living, breathing parts of their programs, updating, promoting, and telling their stories, seeing real results. The common thread through it all? When breeders take the time to share their animals, their pedigrees, and their passion online, people notice. If you want to dive deeper into the stats and see all the lists that we talked about today, including top sires, cows, and the efficiency leaderboard, head to our blog at hiredhandsoftware.com/resources/blog. We've got all the charts, graphs, and rankings here for you to explore. And of course, follow us on Instagram at Hired Hand Websites to see the highlights, graphics, and sneak peeks from the episode. Ryan, thanks again for joining me, and thanks to everyone who's listened. Whether you're a data junkie like me or just love hearing the stories behind the numbers, we're so glad you're a part of our Hired Hand community. Here's to another year of growth, more calves, longer horns, and higher website traffic. We'll see you next time on From the Pasture with Hired Hand.